Hello and welcome to our last new lesson of the semester. Lesson 3 in Module 16. We're going to interpret two-way frequency tables, which we learned about last lesson. So we're going to complete and analyze a two-way frequency table, and we're going to calculate relative frequencies, or another way of saying that is probability. All right, so starting with this, I'm going to show you how percentages can sometimes be more helpful than just raw numbers. So this is a show that debuted back in 2007, a long time ago, I know. It's where Shaquille O'Neal walked into a high school and selected students who were not making the most healthy decisions, and he challenged them to get into better shape. And one of the challenges he presented to them was that if they lost 25 pounds, they could join him on a trip of some kind. Okay. Well, there's a problem with that. Losing 25 pounds for one person may not be the same as losing 25 pounds for another person. Let's say, for example, someone weighs 250 pounds. Losing 25 of those would be losing 10% of their body weight. Lose 25 out of the 250 that they had, that's losing 10% of their body weight. But if someone only weighs 150 pounds, losing 25 pounds is a big deal because that's 16.7% of their body weight. So losing 25 pounds for that person is going to be a lot harder. Okay, so sometimes percentages can be more, can give you a better idea of what's going on. So let's take a look at another example. So we're going to look at two-way relative frequency tables. This one's looking at SUVs versus sports cars for males and females. So those are the two variables going on. Okay. Joint relative frequency is the number of times that two conditions happen at the same time. For example, what is the joint frequency of people surveyed who are women who drive sports cars? Well, how many women are there that drive sports or prefer sports cars? Or drive, I guess, is what we're going to go with. 135, right? So we have women who drive sports cars is 135. Out of the total surveyed, which was 240 people. Or sorry, I was looking at the wrong column. 45 prefers or drive sports cars, 135 are SUVs. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. So now I have 45 out of 240. If I calculate the percent, that's 18.6%. So what that means is 18.6% of people surveyed are women who drive sports cars. Marginal relative frequency looks at the margins, or the total number of times that each condition happens. So how many times does male happen? 60. Female, 180. How many SUV drivers do we have? 156. How many sports car drivers do we have? 84. Those are the margins of our table. What is the marginal relative frequency of the men who were surveyed? So out of the people surveyed, there was 240. How many of them were men? 60 of them. Divide that out, you get exactly 25%. So what that means is 25% of the people surveyed were men. Conditional relative frequency is when you're given a specific condition. You're not using the total number surveyed anymore. So that 240, we're not going to use anymore. We're just going to use a conditional total. So, for example, of the people who drove SUVs. So we're only looking at the people who drive SUVs. So how many are there? 156 people drive SUVs. What is the probability they are female? So of the 156, how many of those are female? 135. So you divide that out, 86.5%. And that means 86.5% of the people who prefer SUVs are female. Okay, a couple other questions from this same data. Let's see if you can give it a shot. Try pausing this. What percent of males prefer sports cars? Okay, so make your fraction. Hopefully you came up with the denominator, percent of males. So we're looking at males only. So that's out of 60. How many of them prefer sports cars? Well, it's 39. So 39 out of 60 would be 65%. Okay, I have another question. What percent of people who prefer sports cars are males? So I kind of switched the wording around a little bit. Okay, so we're only looking at people who prefer sports cars now. That's 84. How many of those are male? 39. So you can see in the way I phrased it can tell you different statistics. That ends up being 46%. So 46% of people who prefer sports cars are male. This is very different than the one before. 65% of males prefer sports cars. 46% of people who prefer sports cars are male. They're looking at two different things. That's how you phrase it. What percent of the total surveyed prefer sports cars? So out of the total again, now we're looking at the total. How many preferred sports cars? 84 out of 240, or only 35%. Okay. And so that's how you interpret two-way frequency tables. You have homework now, and then we'll be done with the semester up until the final exam.